Hello there, this is Denzin, once again returning to Hadleys Hope for the third video in this little series. And what am I going to ramble on about this time is this side of the colony complex. So we've had operations here, the outside walls. Again, I've got my 3D prints that I've done along the edge there to match the blueprints from the blueprints book. And we've got MedLab at the far end. So you've got this huge swathe, and the flooring I've painted a particular style, so it ties them both in together. But then over here, we've got a bit more of a ramshackle of things, different things. Allowed me a bit of creative freedom, because I found that when I was looking at what might be in this area, there's different ideas. So if you look at the role-playing game book, it says the Morg is over here. And if you look at the blueprints book, it says there's geological survey sort of officers over there. So I thought, what makes more sense? Now, MedLab, should you have a morgue opposite? Kind of makes sense, yes. But I thought, well, most morgues seem to be in the basement, don't they, really? So I think I'm going to do that. I did get the morgue. I had the morgue for a while in that area. And what put me off having it there is because of this kink. Because there is a kink there when you look at the blueprints. There's a bit of a kink, and I wanted to sort of represent that. So I went for a smaller set of rooms rather than a morgue. So if I do a ground floor version underneath this level, maybe I'll put the morgue directly beneath MedLab. I don't think you'd want a morgue right opposite operations where people are working. Seems a bit weird. So stick them downstairs in the cool freezer. That's the idea. So Morg is now going downstairs, and I went with the office approach, and I've done that all around this area. Now what I've actually got, we've got the entrance to operations and the entrance to MedLab. So I wanted that main sort of corridor going down here, and this is where we have our barricades that the colonists originally set up, and then the Marines try and repair later. So that would seal off MedLab and operations. And then I thought again about the movie. What do they do in the movie? So you might remember after being in MedLab, beep, 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 what's that on the scanner? And it turns out to be Newton, isn't it? So when they come out into the corridor here, I've actually put some Marines down. There we have some Marines there. And the Marines come down the corridor, and then Newt comes around the corner and dives into a little vent shaft thing down here, doesn't she? And I often thought, what was round the corner? Where did she come from? What's going on down there? When you look at the blueprints and the RPG, one thing the RPG does really well is they indicate where things like ladders and stairwells are. So I thought, yeah, a stairwell. Maybe Newt's come up the stairs from a low level, and then she's come around the corner, going back to her little nest. And otherwise she's coming from a dead end. We don't really want that. So yeah, the stairwell makes sense. So I did go for that. So we go around the corner and we've got a stairwell. If we go all the way around the corner, we're going to storage. Now, I didn't put the stairwell here because of a very practical reason. When you look at the blueprints, this top level of operations and MedLab and so on actually overhangs the lower level. So the lower level actually comes to about here, and then this sticks out. So you can't have the stairwell on the end because it'll have nowhere to go down to. So I had to do it one in, and instead I had this sort of access way, just going to a storage area instead, which made sense to me anyway. Same with the lift. So the lift is here, so the elevator will go down here, maybe to the morgue that we've been talking about. So that goes down, and then on the lower level, this you can mirror this. You could have the same long corridor down the middle, and then maybe storage areas, the morgue, but the staircase and the elevator will remain here because it overhangs the front as well. So I couldn't put it here either. So this overhangs all the way up to here. So the ground floor is here. The entrance is here underneath this, if that makes sense to everybody. This is being sort of held up by plinths. So maybe I was thinking about it too much. I don't know, but it had to make sense in my head. So elevator and stairwells next to each other, that's where they'll be. And if you're thinking, yeah, but if you're going into the stairwell, you go down, you're going to come out, there's nothing here downstairs. Well, what if the stairwell, you come out here? Because you can just turn it, can't you, on the next one level down. Makes sense to me. Now then, what we got also down as corridor, we've got 2 officers. Because I thought, let's not forget in operations, we have the manager and his assistant. And that's their on the shop floor office. What if they both have an office next door where they can both go? So I went for that. Although at the moment I've got my colonial marshal in there, who may or may not look like Sean Connery from Outland. But anyway, so that is my 2 officers here. And up here we've got a meeting room with another hollow table if they want to sit round. And some xenomorph, forget about him. Nothing to see here. And then we've got a computer room, or that geological office that is on the blueprints. And I do have a few print issues sometimes. And again, I've said this before, with aliens, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You can just destroy things quite easily. So if I go over here and just grab that away, bringing this closer, look at that print failure. Is that a print failure, or is it obviously a computer that's blown up? Obviously that's what it is. Maybe some acid has gone through the ceiling and dripped onto this. It's blown a fuse. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. That's not a print failure. It's all intentional. Obviously. So just pop that back there. There we go. So I've done that in a few places actually. If there's been a bit of a damage to something, there we go. That's acid blood melting away. Oh dear. So you can get away with things. Now, if you do want a pristine print, then good luck. Hopefully it goes well. But if something goes wrong, it's not always a complete disaster. That's all I'm saying. Some of this I 3D printed myself. Operations and Med Lab I didn't. I got that from Combat Zone Scenery in the UK. They do Lv427-designs prints for people. I got those before I got my own 3D printer. And it's FDM printed, I think. Whilst mine is resin. So the problem is, if you're doing any resin rooms, they can be quite resin heavy, and they do weigh a lot more than anything else on the board. So you may want to hollow a few things out, but you get a much smoother finish. None of those lines, which you do get in some of the other ones. But never mind. So that was my reasoning as to what goes over here. I went for the stairs, the elevator, and office spaces, and meeting rooms that are more private than doing your dirty laundry out in operations where all the staff can see. It makes sense to have the manager's offices next door and the meeting rooms, and that's what I went for, and some storage. So when it comes to the ground floor, it will be smaller because, as I say, this overhangs the ground floor. So I should have the main entrance underneath here, so an airlock of some sort, because it's an atmosphere processing station. There wouldn't have been an atmosphere when they set up, so you need an airlock. So that would be there, and then stairwell, elevator needs to be mirrored onto the ground floor, and then maybe storage bays, the morgue, and I'm not quite sure, maybe a cafeteria or something like that. But I want to stay away from the habitation areas. I think this should be, if it's operations, this should be all business. So it's up off here, where the Marines actually came in originally, through their lock. That was on the other far side of the complex, which is near the airfield, the landing strip. And that would have been more habitation. Whilst over here, it's all business-like. I mean, that's where Hudson sat, looking for the PDTs to see if he could find where all the colonists were. And of course, they're in the atmosphere processor. So maybe one day I'll look into doing something else along those lines. If you do play another Glorious Day in the Corps, as I've mentioned earlier in another video, there is an operations and a med lab to match those board games, but there is also this side to match those board games as well, because there is an idea of what might be there for the board games, and it's a couple of sort of corridors going off this way with some sort of space, officey sort of space. So there is a version. And what I do like about those new prints for that is that the main central corridor is wider, and I like that. I like that idea. So maybe I'll get a bigger, wider corridor in the middle here one day. I don't know. I think it's okay as it is. So as a whole complex, ooh, there we go. It's a big beast, and it does cover a good 4x4, a bit more probably now actually. I mean, I could keep going off the board there past MedLab and get the entire complex done, but that would be madness. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to enjoy what I have for now and say goodbye for now. So thank you for watching. That's been Hadleys Hope. That's Operations MedLab and a lift. Enjoy.